Hello again, everyone. Well, I already botched this intro. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games in the Game Pass collection, bringing you through perspectives from skill range. I am the one who's trying to become a dragon, Andrew. With me, the one who's nowhere near to becoming a dragon, Keith.
Hello.
And the one who truly has become a dragon, our new special guest, longtime listener of ours and friend, Kel. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This week, we played Yakuza Like a Dragon by SEGA. Yakuza Like a Dragon is the newest series of the Yakuza series, which is supposed to be kind of its own spin-off. So it's a bit different from the original. This one is now being a turn-based RPG where you are playing Ichiban, who, you know, like in the other ones, is part of the Yakuza family, but of course, things go wrong and he ends up starting from the bottom and building his way up. But I don't want to speak too much of the story. Well, I mean, we'll get more into the story, but that's kind of the general premise of it as a turn-based RPG. But going around. So, Kel, I would like to start with you. So, Kel, we wanted you on this episode because, you joined our Discord and you literally had never played in the Yakuza series, but you literally started it on our Discord and you have gone through just about all of them now. Have you?
I listened to your episode on Yakuza 0 and I thought, well, yeah, okay, I'll try this one out. And I got hooked right away.
Yeah.
And ended up playing Yakuza 0, Kiwami 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now this one. And that was starting in October. So I've been going at a pretty good clip.
I know it's actually awesome with like seeing your progression through the whole series. But so playing all of them, these are all the ones I think on Game Pass. So where does Yakuza Like a Zero or Yakuza Like a Dragon stick with you? Is this a game or pass?
This is a game. I'm not going to say it's a game. I think everybody should play either 0 or 1 or Like a Dragon and see if they like them, but it's a very good game.
See, I'm actually going to give this a definite game. I loved this game so much. I'm kind of glad. So I actually beat this about a week ago. So I'm glad I kind of sat on a little bit because by the time credits roll, I was like, oh, this game is the best game ever. I at least let the dust settle a little bit. I'm like, okay, there's some issues that were there's some flaws with the game, but I loved Like a Dragon because I never realized, I know I like turn-based RPGs, but apparently after playing this, I just realized I absolutely love turn-based RPGs. And this game also worked so well for me because, I'm a new dad and with a newborn baby, this game was perfect to play with one hand. I could feed my child. It's, if you know any of the Yakuza games, the cutscenes are 40 minutes long and this is a turn-based RPG. So this was a fantastic game to play with one hand. So I'm actually giving this a definite game.
So I think my only real experience, at least in playing Yakuza, is the Yakuza 0 game. And I don't know if I remember if I loved it or not. But I did?
Yeah, we all did.
Okay. I feel like what I must have loved was more the story and all of that because I don't know. Maybe just I'm misremembering, but at least the gameplay. I was thinking all right, I'm going to check this one off. I knew I wanted to play more than just a handful of hours because I talked to Kel, I talked to you, Andrew. You guys have both told me the game really opens up. It's all right, I'm gonna put more time into it than on maybe normal. But I didn't realize how much to do. I was just gonna sink my teeth into it once I started. I can definitely, I guess, see where there's certain aspects of the gameplay that you might have been mentioning, Andrew, that start to fall a little flat. And I didn't beat it. I think I'm in chapter 7 right now.
Yeah, there's 14 chapters.
Yeah, so I'm far enough into it now. I think I can see some of that, but I think I will actually keep playing this game as we go through. Even if it's just not as meaty as I am playing it right now in 5-6 hour chunks.
Yeah, I was doing 5-6 hour chunks when I started this game. This game sunk its teeth in me. I first, because I knew we were this was probably going to be on our radar. I was like, you know what, I'll check this out. Literally, as soon as I started this game, I was like, this is awesome. But yeah, what first hooked me is, of course, the story. So the story, if you've played the Yakuza series, you're either going to love these stories or hate them. I think if you know how Yakuza goes, it isn't too surprising. I always described Yakuza as a soap opera. It goes from very serious moments to super goofy moments. And it's also buck wild. The story will just like throw things at you and you're like, what is going on here? I love the story. So as I said, you play as this character, Ichiban, who was, bottom of the pile of society, no parents. He grew up in a brothel. He found a fatherly figure in the Yakuza family, but he was asked to basically take a bullet for the family and, have to serve some jail time. But of course, when he gets out of jail, things have changed drastically. I think I was just going to start with, I don't want to try to spoil too much of the story, but just the premise of the story is so you are trying to unravel this mystery as to what happened while you were in prison and, what truly is happening behind the scenes with these other factions of the Yakuza family. I love this story. In the original ones, you play mostly Kiryu, right? I don't know.
Mostly Kiryu. In 4 and 5, you play as some other characters. Some good, some not as good. But the rest of them, it's all, and 0, you play half of it as Majima. But the rest of them, it's all Kiryu.
I never knew if you played Majima. I've seen him multiple times, but I never actually played with him. Knew you played with him. But anyway,
does he show up like a dragon?
What?
Does he show up like a dragon?
Yeah. Well,
if it's a spoiler where he does, we don't have to talk too far about it.
Characters from the other games do appear, and it's kind of a big Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV moment.
Yeah.
Like, I know those guys.
And that's the thing. It's not like a huge spoiler. And that's the thing too. I'm going to start off. This is also a good point. If you're asking, do I need to play any of the Yakuza games? I would say no. This is very much its own. This is supposed to be the whole new story arc. I don't know if you know, Kel, but isn't Sega kind of done with Kiryu's story?
Well, they seem to be trying to wrap it up. There's another game that takes place after this one that focuses on him, but it's a little bit of a shorter game. And then he does appear.
The man who erased his name?
Yeah. Or Gaiden, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he does appear in Infinite Wealth also. But he's not the main character anymore.
But I know like this is supposed to be its own new story arc with Ichiban, in which this is the other thing I was like, first kind of turned me off. Character's goofy looking. You look at the cover, his hair is kind of crazy. And so I was just like, what is this game? And I've heard things about it where it's like you fight a Roomba. So it's like, and like, it's a turn-based RPG and people do goofy things like throw tacks or, do weird dance moves as like attack moves. And I was like, this game sounds weird. As soon as I started playing this though, like it's just the game just oozes character. Like I instantly loved Ichiban. He's a super lovable character. Because I remember I didn't care for Kiryu when I played 0. Like he was fine. He was just kind of wooden. And it was everyone else that I loved. I'm sure I've seen a bunch of clips and stuff, and I know Kiryu opens up more. But I remember he didn't hook me as much as Ichiban did in this game. And still the side characters are great.
Well, Kiryu became my favorite video game character ever. But after playing this, I think Ichiban is. He's taken his place. He is super lovable. And they do explain his crazy hair pretty early on. Yeah. So you get over that. And this whole series is all about this juxtaposition of like something really gritty and over the top with just the most absurd, crazy stuff that's happening also. And the way that they did it in this game is so perfect. How they take all these JRPG tropes and put them into a real world scenario, and anything that's maybe a little bit over the top, they explain it as, well, that's just Ichiban's imagination.
Yeah. I loved you brought that up. Yeah, because I was like, how are they going to explain this as a turn-based RPG? And it's very much Ichiban being like, this is like Dragon Quest. And so everything is kind of reflected in his mind of people looking like crazy characters. It's because it's his active imagination. And I love they keep talking about it when he's like, you're joining my party. And other people are like, you mean like Dragon Quest?
No, I loved that. And like, and not to get too out of it, but like they took that to so many levels. Like it plays in on the sound, it plays in on the storytelling, it plays in on just every level. And I think that it's so clever and well done that I actually really appreciated it. But like, I think, the story, like Andrew used the term roller coaster, and like, it is or no, you used the term soap opera. Roller coaster
Yeah.
is what I had in my mind. Is this game is just, I mean, it's wild in that I was pretty hooked at the beginning story, and normally, as we all know, story isn't something I normally pay a lot of attention to. I definitely hit A to skip through a lot of video dialogue as I started to get further in.
Yeah.
But I was skimming text, and I'm like, and I am keeping up with everything that's going on. But that first scene in the game, like the threatening mother and like all of like just
Oh yeah.
blew me away. I was like, wait, this, and especially because I had heard about the fighting Roombas and, the goofy dances and the guys attacking you with their butts and, and then all of a sudden it's like this gruesomely abusive mother in the first 5 minutes, and not to spoil too much, but you're just like, whoa. And then the next thing, you're running down the street and they're hurling ridiculous insults at each other. And I'm laughing hysterically at that text. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, but I need to just keep going now because I need to find out what's happening.
And that's what I love about this story too. There's like 3 different types of like cinematics. You have the voiceless text, which those you can kind of tell are just like, these are kind of fun, but nothing too story heavy. Then you have like semi-cinematic, where you can kind of skip portions of it by pressing A and it kind of speeds it up. So if you like read the text, you can kind of speed it up a little bit and speed the video up. Then you have the full on cinematic, where it's just a full video. And I love these kind of things where you can kind of understand the severity of the story when it does these things. So it's like, some goofy text. I'll just kind of skip through this. I just want to play the game. But it's like, oh, this is a full cinematic. I better watch this. But yeah, I love where it's like the full video cinematics. Those are going to be a serious story. But yeah, if you skip the text, there's just so much goofy dialogue.
Speaking of, did you guys play it with Japanese dialogue or English?
I did English. I kind of wish I did Japanese.
I did English as well. I actually was just on Gaming Together again yesterday for Call of Duty, and they asked me the same question. Now I feel like I should at least like go start playing the rest of the game in Japanese.
Well, yeah. I don't think the other ones gave me an option in 0 through 6. It was just in Japanese. And so I'm just used to it, and it feels right to have it in Japanese.
I mean, it makes sense. I love the voice acting in this game, though, for the English. Like, I had no complaints about it.
No, I actually thought the voice acting was great. Again, just a little bit of getting ahead there, but I might check it out because I'm guessing you'd still I'd still have subtitles at that point because I want to know what they're saying, but I could see having the dialogue in Japanese could be interesting.
Yeah. But but the end of the story, though, I gotta say, like, this whole package of the story was phenomenal. I always love a good story in a game. In this one, by the end, I really liked. I will say, I can't. So obviously, there's a lot of sub stories too, which are of course side quests. I don't think I was blown away by any of the stories in the sub stories. There was a couple that were kind of like, oh, that's kind of sweet. But I remember liking him, I think, a bit more in Yakuza 0.
I think Yakuza 0 might have had stronger ones in general, but this one does hit on, the classic grown men with a diaper fetish.
Yep, that's a great one.
Sub-story brings those guys back, and the giant Roomba thing was just amazing. There were some of them that weren't as strong, but
yeah, they were definitely funny. Like, I like the sub story of the guy who is naked and he's covered in bubbles, and you're essentially trying to escort him across town to get clothes before the bubbles disappear, and he's naked and gets arrested.
That one was great. Or the guy that made the extra spicy kimchi.
Yes. Oh yeah, and I was just doing that one.
And you find different ways that it can help people. Like the old lady needs to get the spicy kimchi so she can run across the street.
Or the one to confess to her lover before he gets on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's definitely super funny ones, but yeah, I didn't think there was any more like. There's a couple heartfelt ones, like the little girl trying to raise money for her brother's surgery.
The persimmon tree.
Yeah, the persimmon tree,
and then like the homeless kid or the homeless guy, and the little boy. That's the only one I think of.
Yeah, that one was actually pretty good.
No, but that one did crack me up though, and I think Cal, this is what you were a little bit talking about, like with some of these ridiculous scenarios that just kind of draw off of just being an RPG in general. Like you get into this huge knockdown, drag out fight, and it's just like, oh, geez, sorry, mister. Now I see where you guys were right. I was just a bad dad. It's like, well, wait a minute, everyone just kicked the crap out of each other for like 5 minutes.
Some of those,
Kiryu was always the master of that, just beating the crap out of somebody, and then they all learn their lesson and become great friends.
which is always so funny of a transition when you get that, when someone's literally like, I'm about to murder you, and then you beat him up, he's like, I understand your point now, and then walks away. It's like, all right. But I do love to like how you're walking these streets and these random enemy encounters. It's like, man, are these streets that dangerous where you're just walking, people are just picking fights with you? But yeah, the gameplay though, as I said, this is a turn-based RPG, so this is much different from the other Yakuza games, which are usually they were more like a street brawl, third-person action,
like a beat 'em up.
Yeah, beat 'em up. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, so this is a different change of going into a turn-based, which is very surprising. It's kind of crazy that Sega has this beloved series, and it's always been this beat 'em up, and then all of a sudden it's like, now it's a turn-based RPG. But as far as I could see, everyone's loved it. I don't know if you've seen people being like, this isn't Yakuza anymore. I feel like the general consensus.
No, I haven't heard anybody say that.
Yeah, which is very surprising because this is like a completely change. Because I've always learned people either really like turn-based RPGs or they really hate them. But yeah, it works so well, and it works with the context of the story. But yeah, just the turn-based RPG, and also too, getting into it, anytime if you played a turn-based RPG, everyone has kind of classes or jobs. And in this one, it makes sense. Your characters are essentially homeless. So you're going to a job market and you are picking up jobs. And you're literally the jobs that your characters are like chef, bouncer, enforcer, like actual generic jobs. But it's essentially the character's class that you can kind of mix and match. I loved the combat system in this game. I love this job system where you are leveling up your actual character, but you're also leveling up the jobs as well, which will also give you more benefits. I loved this game's gameplay so much.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. I think there were some things that they didn't get quite right with the battles and the progression.
Yeah.
Like if you target an enemy with an ability, it would show if you had hit them with a similar ability before, it would tell if it was weak to that ability, but it wouldn't give you any indication if you've never tried it before or if they were resistant to it.
Yeah.
I wished it would do that too.
It took me a long time to figure that out. Because that's the thing too. Whenever it just said weak, I actually kept taking it as my attack was weak. So as in the enemy's resistant. So I was actually avoiding it for a while because I was like, oh, it's weak. I don't want to do that. But then I noticed, I'm like, wait, no, that number is way higher. And then I was like, oh, it means it's their weakness.
Yep. Yeah. I had the exact same experiences where I mixed that up for the longest time. And it was, I think, when I noticed the resist as well. But it coupled with, I kind of had that light bulb moment like you, Andrew. I was like, boy, that's an awfully strong attack for being a weak attack. But it's like, well, sure, it took me a while to figure that out. I don't feel like it took any of my experience away. Like I was like, this kind of sucks. Like this whole game could be different now. Cause I was just kind of to be honest, I actually auto battled pretty early on. I kind of just set it to auto battle, and I like it because it still feels a little enough like an RPG because you can turn it on and off so quickly, but really too, like the overall interactivity, even slight as it may be, with having to or being able to engage in the blocking or engage in some of the attacks, it didn't feel like I was just like set it and forget it.
Yeah.
I did take advantage of the auto battle when I needed to do some grinding. And speaking of grinding, you do have to do a little bit of it. They give you a couple of good opportunities, like you get to Sotenbori at a certain point in the story, and you run across an arena, and you really want to go through that arena to get the levels. But then shortly after that, I came across another boss who is a majorly turning character, and he kicked my ass. So I went back through the arena again, and I just let it auto battle the second time because I was like 15 levels higher and I could do that. But then I went and fought him, and then I thought the next part was going to be, that much harder than he was. And so I did a whole bunch more leveling, and it turned out I really didn't need to. Yeah. So they didn't always put those in the places that they should have been.
Yeah, and that's generally kind of my complaint too of this game. Like it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, this arena is optional, but it's not. Like you have to do it because it throws XP at you, and you need those levels. You do need a power level. So that's the thing that kind of irritates me, where it's kind of like it's a side quest. No, it's not really. You got to do it. And yeah, some of the dungeons I noticed, or like big story moments you go, it would say, hey, recommended level, this to this. But yeah, at that moment, I don't think it said that. And luckily, I did the arena a couple times, but even then, I think it was just at the moment, because with those major characters came, like I kind of struggled a little bit. I won the fight my first try, but it wasn't a cakewalk like a majority of the fights were. But
when you fight the two guys, that one was really tough.
Yeah.
Now,
And
if you die in a dungeon, I couldn't figure this out. Do you keep all the experience you had earned to that point, or does it completely reset?
You keep your experience, but you lose half your money, and you go back to the last place you saved.
I thought the dungeons you lose it, but like in the stories you keep the experience.
Oh, I'm not sure. I never died in a dungeon, and then I stopped carrying my money. I stopped carrying my money pretty early on and putting it all in the bank.
See, I could have swore it took my XP away, because then it was like, well, why would I respawn? I'll just load my last save, because I thought it took it away. Unless it took away job experience, I don't know.
Because I think it's the very first dungeon you really go through. I took a couple tries to get through there, and like I couldn't quite tell, because mostly if I'd been paying closer attention, but like I think I played it like 1.5 times, died. Or I don't. Either way, I couldn't quite tell. But I think if you pay attention to your levels a little bit better, because I think it gave me a warning before I started the dungeon, like, hey, you might be a little bit too weak for this, and so I kind of struggled my way through it. But once I got through, it was fine.
Yeah, those dungeons give you a ton of XP. That's what. So I like overall the grind in this game. There is a good amount of grind, but I feel like as far as turn-based RPGs go, I didn't find it too bad. Because as Kel said, like there are these specific dungeons, and if you do them, it throws XP at you. If you're going around and just fighting random people on the streets, like that barely gives you any experience or any sort of reward.
Yeah, that's not really worth your time. And I left the random battles on, even though you do get an item that lets you turn them off in the city. But I would try to avoid them sometimes, because you can see where the enemies are. It's not like in Final Fantasy where the screen just old Final Fantasy anyway.
Yeah, I like that.
The screen just zooms in. You can see them coming, and you can avoid them.
But I always kept them on too, because this game also has a like in-game challenge system called Part-Time Hero, and of course there's achievements tied to it, but there's also a bunch of rewards if you do it. And a lot of the challenges are like, oh, kill so many of these guys in the streets. So I always did that just to kind of fight those guys in the streets, get the extra money, keep working on the challenges. But yeah, after Endgame, I actually started to turn off the people on the streets, because it was just like they're just wasting my time. But I enjoyed the auto battler. But this is my biggest complaint of Like a Dragon. This game does, in my opinion, waste your time with a lot of things that could easily be skippable, such as auto battling. When you auto battle, it still plays the game in real time, and like you can interact a little bit. Like whenever you're doing a special ability, sometimes it gives you a prompt, hit X or Y at a certain time, or mash X, kind of things like that. If someone attacks you, hit B, you can kind of reduce the damage. But majority of it is still just a lot of animations where I'm like, I want to skip this. And then there's some mini games too, where I'm like, this is an unnecessary screen. I want to skip this. I've seen this 1,000 times, specifically the management. When you eventually get a company, you do this management mini game. I wanted to skip that money scene so badly. Running. Like, I am so sick of seeing it. Like, you could speed it up, but you had to hold the trigger. It's like, just let me skip it. There's nothing you're doing.
You should have been able to skip that.
You're just seeing a character run. And I'm like, this is annoying. I want to skip this. And even too with the battling of the stockholders, like there's a lot of just cinematic stuff there. I'm like, I want to skip this. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip this. It's majority of the time, it's just the mini games. Like even when it comes to the can hero driving around or the claw game, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff where I'm like, this is unnecessarily slow and it's driving me insane.
Oh yeah, I gave up on the claw game pretty quickly, but I liked all of those other mini games. But I think you're right that their animations around them get to be a little bit repetitive, and even I guess some of the overall grind of them. But I felt like there was always something to do, and it was just like I'm getting kind of bored doing a bunch of battles. I'm gonna go do 3 or 4 business quarters of the confection shop, and now I'm gonna run just a bunch of sub stories. And I don't know, it kept
Or
me
you can go play
distracted.
Mario Kart.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Mario Kart and like all these different things. While none of them are overly, they wouldn't be standalone games. They couldn't stand up and be great things. That's why they're mini games. But I felt like I wasn't getting bored when I'm sitting there playing for hours at a time, which is something that I can't say for a lot of games if I'm not, just completely having my mind broken by Balatro or something
Yeah, I was
stupid
gonna say,
like
it's not
that.
a roguelike.
Yeah. I didn't say never.
Yeah. The mini games to me are a good balance of change of pace. My only other complaint with the mini games though is they are very grindy. Like I found the mini games to be way more grindy. So the can hero game, the very first one you do where you're kind of collecting these cans to recycle, the shop is so expensive. I played that can hero game like 40 runs and there's still so many things on there that I can't buy. And it's just, and honestly, the can hero one you need to do, because like a lot of like items of like the insects in there or the napkins you need to get, like there's some important items you kind of need to buy in that shop, but it's so grindy.
I only did 3 runs of the canned game. I did think it was an okay game, but when I saw the prices, I was like,
Yeah.
this is not worth my time.
'Cause
And the same thing with the batting center.
Oh yeah. I did the batting center
yet.
like twice and I was like, I'm good. And which stinks.
Yeah, they are a bit grindy. Although the business management game gives you a ton of money.
That one is the one that's really worth it.
After not too much time.
Yeah.
That once I realized that was giving me like money outside of the game, that was kind of a changer for me, because that's when I started going and doing the tests, which I think the vocational test might be one of my favorite mini games in the whole thing, because it's like, what a weird concept. I'm sitting here doing algebra at my desk trying to play a video game, and not because it's a puzzle, but because they were just like, hey, here's actually some real math that we do.
Solve for I was like, oh geez. You have 30 seconds.
I do have a complaint about those, because they would cost you like 30,000 yen to take one, and if you failed it, you'd have to pay again. Yeah. I wish she would just tell you like flat out, like, well, you can take the test again for free because we know you're just going to save scum this.
Yeah, or like even like a half price or something. But for all of the jokes they make about it, I think that would be awesome. Yeah, if they basically just made fun of you for it. But otherwise, at least once I found the confections or the business management, then I just felt like money wasn't really an issue anymore. Yeah, and I don't know if it kind of gets to a different point later on, but I'm still like a 75 ranked business, and I'm rolling in money from it. So,
well, I think
there's one point where you need to come up with 3 million yen.
Yeah,
and the characters are like, oh man, that's a ton of money. You just do one cycle in the business management game. If you're at the top level, that's 3 million yen right there.
But yeah, I do like the test. They do make fun of you when you fail. The guy just comes up and kind of like pats you on the back and walks away. I love that.
The animation does get a little bit repetitive, like on both of them, the celebration one and
that's another one you can't skip.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, it's not long, but it is one that'd be like, great, I would like to just skip this and go on to the next one. But I did think that was like a neat aspect to the game, and I was having fun going through those, and they were useful too. It wasn't just like we're going to have you do this for no good reason.
Yeah.
But I also
improve your character.
I do love though that they really go heavy on, like you were talking about, how important it is to like get the money. They'll like everything is the most time sensitive thing in this game, but nothing is time sensitive whatsoever. Yeah. They're like, hey, you literally have this morning to break into this building. 12 hours later, and he's still actually just yelling at you that he doesn't think you're prepared enough. God, jeez, I want to get this over with, but you're not letting me.
That's side quest in every game. Link goes fishing all the time.
I do like it's like that meme of like the super epic boss in the background. It's a guy picking flowers. Me doing side quest. It is funny of like how you just they always the severity of the story is just like, oh no, how are we gonna do this? And it's just like, I'm just gonna walk around and ignore it for a while. But speaking of the management though, so Kel, before I started this, I asked you, I was like, oh, what are some pro tips? You gave some great pro tips that you want to share with our listeners. I don't know if you remember them.
Well, the ones I remember the taxis are your fast travel points,
Yep.
but they don't open up unless you go and actually press A right next to the taxi. And it took me a while to figure that out because the game doesn't tell you that. And the other thing is the business management game. You can figure out the management part on your own, but the actual shareholder meetings, it does not explain that very well. And I highly recommend watching like a 10-minute, 15-minute video about that. Because once you figure it out, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. I
and it's fun.
I failed it the first 2 times because I'm like, what is going on? And
Yeah,
then when I finally figured it out, I was like, this is easy.
I thought I was going to find out what happened if I didn't live up to Nick's expectations there. Because I
failed
pretty
that.
I don't know what happens if
I did it. He finds you. Yeah, he takes away like I think like $10,000 like of your personal money. So he's like, you didn't make it. He's like, I'm finding you, and he takes away like your own personal money. So I was like,
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but now you get another chance to do it.
Yeah, then he's like, you don't no longer have a time limit. Just get to the next area. So it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I was and like I think it was literally I was rolling in at rank 51 into my last shareholders meeting. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna make it. But yeah, I think it was at like right around the second or third one. I don't know if there's more to it, but yeah, once I figured out like the kind of color system of they throw a certain color at you and you have to answer with the corresponding one, it got to, like you said, it's pretty easy once you figure it out. But they really don't tell you. They're just like, hey, here's the mechanics in front of you. Hope you can do some video game speak here and figure this out.
Yeah, because
the other big tip.
Okay.
The other big tip I wanted to share was don't ever buy weapons. You get the upgrade shop, and you should just upgrade your base weapons because those eventually become the ultimate weapons for each class.
Well, you have to buy some weapons because you have to fuse.
Well, there's a couple.
Yeah.
A couple that you need to fuse, but until you see that is required, like ingredient, or like a crafting ingredient, then don't get anything until you figure that out.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and I mean, I haven't gotten really to the point where I at least have fused. I've done some upgrading, but I basically have at least only used what I've picked up or the base weapon for everyone. Yeah, and I haven't run into any real trouble. So,
the other tip you gave that is, I think, the most helpful. As soon as you unlock the business management, keep playing the business management.
Oh yeah,
until you unlock a character, which isn't too long. But yeah, if you don't do that, you are going to be in a world of hurt. That was the other tip. Because when that happened, I was like, I'm glad I did this.
Because at that point you have 4 characters in your party, and a character leaves your party for a while. But prior to that, you have the opportunity to get the optional character by doing the business management game, and you should definitely do that.
Yeah,
I had done that, not realizing you had told us to or mentioned to do it, because I'm not struggling right now because I have the 4 characters, but I could see where that would be a problem real quick.
Yeah, as soon as I got the management game, I actually played it until I completed it because I saw how much money I was getting, and then I was just like, oh boy. So I literally, as soon as I got management, I focused on it until I completely maxed it out. And
and when you do max it out, you get a special ability you can use in battle where you,
which I couldn't use.
Ichiban pulls out his phone and dials in the orbital laser coming down from a satellite.
Yeah, but it costs 200 mana to summon, and my mana pool was like 100, if even that. And I was like, no, I was like, this is kind of pointless for me then. But yeah, it's a sweet movie.
It comes in handy later on when you can cast it, though.
Oh yeah, but speaking of the characters, though, I gotta say the characters for me were a little bit of a mixed bag. So the original ones you start with, the 3, they're on the cover. They're great. Love their personality. I feel like they're so well written. But then once you get the business, you unlock, this other optional character you get. And I hate when a game does this, where it's kind of like an optional character, because they essentially are non-existent in the game. Like, you're playing with them and they're in your party, but they have 0 dialogue. They're not participating in the story. There's just like nothing about them. They're just literally a being. And I hate that. And then the last 2 characters you get, who I don't want to spoil who they are, but I found their personalities to be relatively flat too. Like, it didn't the original cast, it all made sense why they were there and like helping you. But the other ones, like how is this kind of written, just seemed like, yeah, like I got nothing else kind of going on, I'll join you now. And it's just like, okay.
Well, it was more like they saw an advantage in helping him out because of their
Situation.
their group conflict.
Yeah.
I liked them. I didn't like them as much as the first characters, like Seiko, Adachi, Nanba. I love those guys.
Yeah, they seemed like friends. The other two guys just didn't seem like friends. I don't know.
No, I haven't gotten the two new characters yet, so I can't speak to that. But I did notice that like when I had the other optional character from the business, like that she wouldn't show up in cutscenes and stuff like that. So like you said, Andrew, like to kind of just disregard them a little bit. I mean, unless there was a reason for them to be in the cutscene. But like even when the other character left my party, and so it was the three originals or two or three originals plus that person, they would sometimes just not show up in cutscenes.
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't like that. That's why for me, I feel like that
it's video game stuff. Sometimes you just gotta accept it.
It's just it just felt weird because, like I said, at least the original three just felt so well written, and their dynamic felt so much like this ragtag group of friends. They're really good buddies, and it was just like the other half of the party they're just there. I don't know, because I felt like there were so many good story dynamics with them, and the other characters. I don't know. That's just a minor gripe though for me. Overall, though, I love them. I love that every character, too, has their own special job that only they can do. So Namba is a homeless guy, so his job is a bum. You have Seiko. She's a bartender. Or no, it's hostess, I think. No, it's bartender, right?
Barmaid.
Yeah.
Hostess is a separate job.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I loved the job systems. And so it's kind of interesting. So this game, of course, is encouraging you to kind of switch everyone's jobs up. You have a skill tree. A majority of them are only tied when you're that job, but some of the skills will actually carry over no matter like if you switch the jobs up, and also some of the experience points and some of the attributes that you're getting. I loved kind of mixing and matching my squad and just playing with this job system. It's simple, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it drew a lot from the original Final Fantasy job classes, and everybody can become a healer or a damage dealer or a mage, at various points. Some of them have some prerequisites. They've got to get their bond level with Ichiban up before they can do it. But you can do a lot with it. One thing I thought about doing, but I never did, I noticed the musician class, some of the abilities that it had would be stronger if you had more musicians in your party.
Oh.
And I wonder what it would be like to just switch everyone to musician and just try to fight the game that way.
That could actually be interesting. I may give that a go because that was one of my favorites that I used for Nanba actually. Who I guess because he had healing capabilities immediately, I was like, oh, he's my healer. He's one of the strongest of the three. I felt like, and especially as the musician because he has like some really good like area of effect attacks and stuff.
I think he's
I ended up putting him to host by the end of the game. That's another, damage dealing class with some healing. But yeah, I used him through the whole game.
See, I thought he sucked late game. His health pool was so small. I felt like he was dying so easily. My go-tos were Seiko, and then I did the hitman, and then the gangster.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think those were my main, but I think towards the end I stopped using Adachi. I thought he was good. It just seemed like he was outclassed by everybody else at everything he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
I was going to say, even from the get-go, I just felt like he wasn't as strong, like almost like with my, preconceptions for Nanba. I was like, oh, Adachi's going to be strong. Like they show, like in the one scene, they make the big deal of him like lifting up the box by himself, but he's like, yeah, he's some brute force, and every so often they'd be like, okay, there's the attack I'm looking for. That's like a one-shot kill or something like that. But so rarely, or just so much more frequently, he's like 25, 30, and I'm done. That's so boring. You're so weak.
See, I found the hitman to be really good at like single target people. I loved having the gangster. He had this ability where he would flip around a ladder and it would almost always wipe out the enemy party. There was always like a few stragglers that would maybe live. But yeah, come like mid halfway game when I had him, I literally would just have him do that. Boom, instant fight win. And he also attacks very early.
I changed the hitman person to a breaker, and they get the windmill ability, and that was how I got through random battles. He would just do the windmill attack. It would take almost everybody out, and then you just clean that up, and then he's got another ability that would regenerate MP. So easy to get through all.
I always I loved when I had a character who was regenerate MP anytime he was attack, and then anytime I switched his job and he didn't, I was like, God, this sucks. It's like now I have to use items to replenish stuff.
I felt like one of the things the battle system was missing was a way for certain characters to regen MP.
Yeah.
Because none of those regen MP abilities carried over to other jobs except the one that the musician had, but it was a pretty high level one. So you would have to put a lot of time into leveling them up as a musician, or just wait until late game when you can level up real fast.
Which, the musician had a weird mechanic that I didn't see being explained. You had this voltage system, and like you do an ability, it's like it may increase your voltage, and it's like, well, what does that mean? I'm assuming.
Well, I think there was at least one ability that would do more damage if your voltage was higher. Yeah. There might have been more than one.
I know there's one in particular that mentions it, whether it's more damage or like it has a better proc rate or something like that when your voltage is up. But there was one that specifically calls it out. But otherwise, I didn't really know what was going on with that.
I think that was all it did.
It's very possible. But I did love, and I don't know if the lyrics changed at all, but it actually, as far as repetitive sound effects go, the song that Nanba would sing every single time for the attack, that I feel the pain in my soft soul. I don't know if all of the characters say the same one. It just cracked me up every time. What? And then his healing song is something about like heal all the world or something.
Yeah. No, there's so I just did Seiko as the idol, pop idol. And she would want a healing, and she would just say, "Ouchies, go away." She's kind of made me crack up too. But she would.
Oh, see, I heard it all in Japanese, so it didn't seem repetitive to me. I had no idea what they were saying. I mean, I think there were subtitles. I think for some of them, like maybe the musician ones, because they're singing a little song. But otherwise, it would just say like Seiko, did a healing dance or something like that, or her cheerfulness, like. Her cheerful grin helped her teammate, something like that.
See, I gotta say, I'm surprised how much I enjoyed this game's combat, because usually when it comes to a turn-based RPG, it's either relatively generic or like it'll do something pretty interesting to mix things up. Like I remember we did Sea of Stars. Every ability always had some sort of like mechanic for you to kind of always be engaging. I gotta say, as far as a turn-based RPG goes, this game is like doesn't really do anything that interesting for a turn-based RPG. But I don't know if it's just the game oozes personality that I think just drew me in it, with the jobs and the enemies. The enemies are hilarious. What are they called? Sujimon, thank you.
Yeah.
And which, of course, they make a joke about it, kind of like Pokemon, because you're trying to go around and you have like essentially a Pokedex.
You're trying to collect them all with your Suji deck.
Yeah, you're trying to find them and collect them in your like essentially your Pokedex. I think that's just what's so good about this game is how well it's written, and it's just its personality. Because if you don't like turn-based RPGs, I would not say this is a game that's going to convince you that you're going to like turn-based RPGs. But it's addictive. And
But if you liked Sea of Stars, I think it does enough of that timing stuff that maybe it could keep you interested. Although I think the timing was a little bit harder.
It was.
In Like a Dragon.
Yeah. And I didn't notice a huge benefit. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I missed it. It wasn't like, oh, if you hit it, it does double damage. It did. I felt like, 1.25% maybe. Like, it was a slight increase.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely not all that severe. And it's not punishing either. There's no, like you said, like you don't miss if you don't hit it. It just does its base attack or whatever. But the timing is definitely a little bit wonky. But it's funny, like talking about Sea of Stars, is because I think between both of them, they while they're so drastically different visually, and maybe it's kind of just that JRPG thing, but they have like I remember Sea of Stars being very heavy and serious at times, but also just plenty goofy and silly, and like I feel like the stories both did such a like they both matched in that same way for me, and it's where I'm normally not a RPG, JRPG, turn-based, like all of those things really don't check a lot of boxes for me, but I've been super engaged with both of those games when we played them, and I think that way of storytelling and that just type of dialogue draws me in, especially if it's good humor. Good humor will pull me into any game.
Yeah, but for like I said,
there's a ton of that here.
Oh
Yeah,
there is. But yeah, it's just I feel like the art style of this game is just also fantastic. Okay, I gotta say, I can never tell if it's. I'm assuming it's an artistic choice. This game's graphics, I gotta say, overall are kind of crappy, but I love it. Like a lot of the characters look like mannequins. Like when it's usually just the generic people. Like when it comes to the main characters, like good detail, good facial hair, scars, tattoos, like they do a good job. When it comes to any of the NPCs or side characters, they look like mannequins. But it's also a thing that I love about the game. Like I think this is perfect graphically. Like I would never want them to improve. If I saw them one day being like Unreal Engine 5, hyper graphics, I think it would lose its character, just how it just works. Because even with the enemies are super goofy looking and funny, but that's just how it is. I would never want this game to be any more realistic. Like a lot of the cars are super boxy looking. Like the environments aren't that pretty to look at, but it works so well with this game.
Everything has character.
Yeah.
Even the things that they put less time into, they still have a certain charm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to make them look better either, because then they'd be like 9 years between entries in the game.
That's
and I'm
too.
almost out of these, so they need to get cracking on making the next one.
Which, yeah, do you think? Do you plan on buying Infinite Wealth? As soon as the credits rolled, I was like, I want to buy Infinite Wealth.
I've still got Like a Dragon Ishin, which is like an alternate like 19th century game where they like transport the Yakuza characters into the 19th century. It's just total non-canon nonsense.
Oh.
And then there's Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name. And after I finish those, I think my plan is to wait until 1 year after Infinite Wealth came out and see if it hits Game Pass.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it'll probably be on sale.
That's kind of where
I'm at. That's when I get it.
I'm like, all these games have been hitting Game Pass. It's like, I feel like I should just wait.
Say now, but
I hear go ahead.
The other two are on Game Pass, right? Ishin and Gaiden? Okay.
Yep.
The Man Who Erased His Name was day one Game Pass, which I thought was surprising.
Yeah. Well, I think it was more meant to it was like a smaller game. It's only like 16 hours or something like that. And it was meant to get you excited about Infinite Wealth, which has been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So it must be working out.
There was one thing else. Yeah, I can't remember. But,
music.
Yeah, but I thought there was another thing I wanted to point in the graphics. But yeah, the music in this game, and I guess voice acting too. Like I said, I did English. I thought the voice acting was great. I thought, every character worked so well with them. The music I thought was fine. The karaoke music I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
This game's always
and the music videos.
Yeah, this game's very.
Did you do the one that looked like it was Kiss or whatever?
Yeah, it was like a metal song. It was called like Hell's Soup or something like that.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Yeah, I loved the karaoke.
I thought the music was actually really good. I think it was the best music in the series, in my opinion.
Oh.
But, with the exception of maybe 5, which has all the Pop Idol stuff, and that's a lot of fun. But yeah, the main battle theme was great. Some of the boss themes were great. There were other parts that were not as fantastic. Some of the side quest music is more just to set a mood.
Yeah.
And not really meant to get you up and excited. But I think overall it was really good.
Yeah, see, for me, it was really more about the sound effects than the music. Like, I think I drowned out a lot of the music at times. And like, even in like the dungeons, that music got a little bit repetitive. It was just like the same looping music in the background as you're walking around. But like I had mentioned it earlier, all of these little like Nintendo sound effects when someone joins your party or when you finish a sub story. I don't know if that's like always like all part of a Yakuza thing, but I felt like that was, I'm guessing, just where they're really kind of fourth walling the video game aspect of what you're doing here.
No, I played Dragon Quest XI earlier this year, and it was definitely a Dragon Quest reference. The little musical, yeah.
As I say, yeah, I loved it every time, and I think it always just gave me this weird little like shot of endorphins, and it just made me smile. So I loved all of the sound effects and the just little things they kind of sprinkled in there.
See, for me, the biggest ear bleeding things were the mini games. Hearing, like I said, the money run and the management, hearing that song over and over again was getting really annoying. Same with the sheep. It would just do these kind of like the bars and stuff like that. Was kind of like, okay, there's like, there's like 50.
I feel like you need to explain what that is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. The mini game of it, it's essentially like it's a quick time event of like sheep popping up and you just got to hit the button, you know, A, B, X, Y, or up, down, left, right. And yeah, the sheep sound effects are kind of getting old, but that's a very fun mini game though. I enjoyed it. I just got sick of the sound effects. And see, even with like the Dragon Kart racing, some of that stuff, it was kind of like, okay, but that's just kind of minor. Overall, I loved it.
I think the issue that like you ran into where most people wouldn't is all of those things do get a little bit draining if you take them all on as one chunk.
Which I unfortunately was doing.
So if you take the management, you know, maybe you run through the first wave of it, getting yourself into the top 50, walk away for a while, go do some Dragon Kart, maybe run a couple Grand Prix on that, and then switch over to the movies or the story or all these things. It's like, I think sometimes the way, you know, you and I or we tend to play them on this podcast is that we don't always give them their full grace and we just chew into them.
Yeah.
But if you take this, you know, 100+ hour game as it's meant to be played and everything is a little bit piecemeal here and there, none of it gets old because there's so much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith's right. You're really meant in these games to just kind of inhabit the city and just wander around and do whatever interests you at the moment.
Yeah, because there is a lot to
do something else. And you'll get your butt kicked if you don't engage with some of the mini games and side quests and stuff, because you won't have your stats up, you won't have your experience up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the achievements. Overall, though, achievement hunters, I think this is actually worth your time. It's a bit long though. Obviously, it's an RPG. For time to beat, you're looking between 4.5 hours to 67 hours.
4.5 you can speed.
I mean, sorry, 45. 45 and a half.
It's like, Jesus.
I can read. Yeah, Keith, you're not done yet? Which I
think there's speed
70 or 80.
Yeah, I landed, I think, 2 days. I think I'm at like 48 when I first rolled credits.
Yeah, I think I'm pushing 30 right now.
I was like 70 or 80, I'm sure. I've actually crunched numbers on the first 7 Yakuza games, and I was averaging like 384 gamer score per game.
Wow.
And it was like 10 gamer score per hour, which is like half of what I usually get.
Yeah.
I'm not really going for achievements though.
See, for me, I found all the achievements very obtainable. In fact, I have all of them except for one. I'm at 920. The last one is to beat the true Final Millennium Tower, which only 0.4% people have. I might grind it out. I've been kind of leveling it up, but I'm like, oof, I don't know. It's a very hard fight. But overall,
yeah, because there's the Final Millennium Tower, like the first post game dungeon, and then there's like an ultimate post game dungeon after that. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that. What I hear is you got to have everybody to level 99 and every job to level 20 or so.
Yeah. Which I'm actually kind of close.
Yeah. I say it just as a quick side, like when each individual job has a different level cap and all of that, right? And it's like somewhere in the 30s.
Yeah,
if I was looking at it right.
They can all go to 99, I think, but you get the biggest stat boost at like level 30.
Oh, right.
For each one. And that's considered max level.
Gotcha.
Like you get the achievement for maxing out the job at level 30.
Okay.
But let's get into our final thoughts here. Kel, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, I love this series. Like Andrew said, it is just ridiculous, over the top, like a soap opera, but also hilarious and dumb. It's oozing charm from every pore. And I think they did an excellent job on the story. They did a very good job on the combat elements and the gameplay elements, although it could have been better on that. And overall, I think the game is not quite, I can't say it's a masterpiece, so I'm going to give it an 89.
Andrew's silence, I guess, means he wants me to go here. Oh, his walking away is that he wants me to go. So I will. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, when I was starting this game, I really thought it was going to be just a play through it and make sure that I was prepared for the episode. But I found I loved it just so much more than I really expected. And I think you said it best, Kel, is that it's oozing personality from top to bottom, whether even if it's not always in a nice, charming aspect, if it's like some really dark, gritty story that you're just kind of not expecting, or it throws you a curveball, but then 5 minutes later you're fighting a guy in a giant trash bag and it's like, I have no idea what's going on. So that level of not taking itself seriously also helps to just kind of rinse away a little bit of that, like, ooh, that was a rough moment that I just watched. So I really kind of appreciated that they kept it light at the same time as they kept it very serious. The gameplay has just so many different things to do, and while some games tend to have a failure on, they do a lot, but they don't do it well. That happens in Like a Dragon, but it's meant to be that way because they're, at least the way they sell it to me as a mini game, I don't feel like I'm like, you just put in a crappy version of a side story or something like that. So yeah, I think take this game and while I wouldn't normally, I still don't, I guess, know who I would recommend it to is one of those weird questions. But I guess if someone was looking for any type of turn-based, or they weren't sure about wanting a turn-based, this is one that I think is fun to play if you don't normally like turn-based games, just because there's so much fun to be had in it. So yeah, for an overall score though, I think I would give it an 86.
So I like I said, if you don't like turn-based RPGs, I don't think this is the thing that's gonna make you love them. If you love turn-based RPGs, like I said, this is a definite game. I love the story. I thought the combat's fantastic. The grind isn't the worst, but it's also, I don't know, I felt the grind was just perfect. I wanted a grind, but it didn't seem necessary. Like, I've played a lot of turn-based RPGs where it's like, you got to go to this cave and just fight random monsters for several hours. This at least was like, here's an area. Here's an area where you actually level up. Easy to do. There you go. For me, the story and the characters in this game absolutely hooked me. Loved it so much. After, like I said, when I first beat this game, I was like, this game's a 98. Super great. But I'm actually going to give it a 92. Bring my score down a little bit. Because, like I said, some things are kind of like, it's kind of annoying. Like I said, wasting my time with unnecessary, unskippable animations. Like, come on. But that's it. That's generally my biggest complaint. So, like I said, if you have not played a Yakuza game, you don't need to. This is very much its own story. So, highly recommend you check it out. But yeah, I think that'll do it for us this week. I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird0952. If you have any game suggestions, email us, or go to GamePassGrabBag.com. Find all our links to everything. Join our Discord. We're on here a lot, including Kel. Always love having you on our Discord. It's great talking to you. Like I said, it's been so awesome seeing you kind of go through the series and just like living through it. Because we obviously could never cover every one of these Yakuza games. Like, that's one thing that stings about.
I think it would get pretty old
if you
did, for the listeners that weren't into it.
Yeah. And
although if you did a spin-off Talkin' Yakuza podcast, I'd be there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Which, forgot to mention, if you don't know, there's also a Yakuza Like a Dragon TV show coming out.
No, we're gonna get Andrew on TV show.
Oh no, I didn't know if we were going to talk about this.
I just want to know, Kel, specifically from you who's played these games now, on a 1 to 10, how excited are you for the show? Where do you think it's going to land?
I am optimistically pessimistic. I don't know if that makes any sense. I expect it to be bad because of all the things I've heard.
Yeah.
But I'm open to being proven wrong. And I really hope it's great. But I don't think it's going to be.
I'm like in the same camp with you. Like, I think it'll maybe be a decent show, but I think it'll be a bad Yakuza. Because they already said it's not going to be goofy and funny like the game is. And it's just like, well, that's what makes the games great. Like, people love the goofy.
That's what makes the games the game.
Yeah.
That's what defines the franchise.
I think it's just going to be a generic Yakuza hard, like, kind of crime show. And it's just
which would be fine on its own.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like Yakuza as a premise is something like solely lives within this game series. Like, that's a well enough known thing that you could just make a story about Yakuza gangsters and make it that hard show. But like we've been talking about with like the level of goofiness that just sort of offsets some of these serious tones at times. Yeah, they don't have to go crazy ham, but I think if you're like, they've pretty openly said they're going to take out a lot of like the silliness, from what I understand, what you guys have been talking about. That I'm like, it's like necessary. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why I don't know if it's going to feel like a Yakuza game. It's just going to feel like a generic show. So I'm like a 3 out of 10 for excitement on it, but we'll see. It's Amazon too, which Amazon's a mixed bag. You got
they've got, you know,
they?
What?
No,
that was HBO.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did
no, they've done The Boys, Fallout, and Invincible are all excellent.
But then you got Lord of the Rings, which
is not that good. And I'm also a huge Tolkien fan. Read the Silmarillion, so
oh jeez. That's I started that once and I was like, this is much. But man,
it reads like the Bible, but the stories are cooler.
Oh, okay.
So,
but yeah. So hopefully we'll see. But yeah, Kel, I don't know if you wanted to plug anything.
You know, I'm on TikTok and Blue Sky under Squid Kel. I don't post that much. So if you follow me, I'm not going to eat up your feed. I'll try to only post something when it's good.
Do you do any like public? Like, I know you write up a lot of reviews that you'll put in the Discord when you complete games. Do you ever like I don't know, maybe publish?
Just put them. I put them in a face. Oh, what happened? Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I usually just post them in a Facebook group. I might start posting them somewhere else, but I haven't picked a place for that yet.
Keith, do your outro.
I mean, I don't have much of an interesting plug as always, but I guess I was just on Gaming Together again, so I think that'll be this Friday. So if you want to hear more of me and not Andrew talking about Call of Duty again, because you didn't hear it the first time, we actually fun little anecdote is, so we did an Am I the Asshole when we had Nave on here, and when we were going through them, Phil from Gaming Together was not with us on our podcast, but we did the Am I the Asshole, and he picked the exact same Call of Duty for the boys. So we talked to that one again. So you can, if you like hearing me talk about the same games and the same Reddit posts, this episode's going to be right up your alley. But it was a lot of fun. So yeah, that'll be my outro this week.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. We love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.